Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another OSR tabletop live stream with myself, Dungeon Master Bloodworth, Richard, first name. And this is just an impromptu. Figured it's Monday night, and everyone getting ready, or many people getting ready for tomorrow's 4th of July celebration. And I figured, let me do a live stream. It's been a while since I've done one, and just wanted to leave this open floor. Anyone can come in and leave your, questions and comments, especially, try to keep it related to the OSR, although tabletop role-playing games in general is certainly a welcome topic as always. And let's see, who do we have here? Hey, howdy, Legion of Myth. Max, how's it going? And Max, you are always welcome to jump on in if you wish. I am going to throw the invite up here in the link, and let's do that right away. If anyone wants to jump in, this is just, to steal from you a chill stream. So here we go, and there is the link. So you can link right in there, and I will let you jump on in. Again, this is just a chat, a chill stream talking about the OSR, some of the things that I've come across over the last couple of days. And so anybody else want to jump in, you're welcome to hit that link and jump right in. I can accept up to 10 of you or 9 of you, something like that. So the more, the merrier. And we will get rolling as soon as hopefully that link works for you. Yes, it does. Hey, Max.
Hello. How are you?
How's it going?
Apparently, I can't spell howdy.
Okay.
Hodwe.
I understood it, so maybe that's my own. That's from years of being a teacher, able to decipher gobbledygook on the page.
That's all I do on the internet, anyways, is gobbledygook. So
I have to ask you, what is Snarf Quest? Because I have never seen that before. So.
Snarf Quest was, see if I've got the book. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to go digging for it. Snarf Quest was a comic in the 1980s put out by Larry Elmore.
Okay.
So
a spoof on Elf Quest, I'm assuming?
Spoof on just the tabletop RPG hobby as a whole.
Okay.
And a few years ago, I was at Gen Con, and he was putting out basically the compilation of the entirety of Snarf Quest, and I backed that and the computer game. Unfortunately, the computer game wasn't that good. But I was happy to have all the copies of Snarf Quest, and as I was reading through it, I remembered, well, number one, it's a little juvenile, and two, could not be made today. So,
well, probably not. I mean, I know going back when we were going over some stuff, and I know I've, been following a lot of the stuff that you're doing, and I had snagged the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And what was it? The black cover, the one that you absolutely couldn't print today. So I know you're reaching for it now.
Well, I was trying to see if I could find the Snarf Quest book, because I think a lot of people actually know what it is when they see it, but I don't know where the book is right now.
One of my favorite comics from back then was I loved Fat Ninja and Fat Ninja, Samurai Penguin. there was a whole bunch of things that came out there along the same time that that Elf Quest was out there, and obviously Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles launched around that same time. There was a whole time frame of these these independent. What was it? Aircell? Was Aircell the one that made? I'm going back. God,
I was not a comic book guy. In fact, Elf Quest is like the only comic I collected, and it was after the fact. It was the first. I used to have the first 30 issues of Elf Quest.
Yeah, and
then I don't know what happened. One of my PCSs, or maybe when I got out of the Air Force, something happened, and they're all gone now.
Yeah,
I even collected. What was the follow-up series, Blue Ridge Mountain or something like that? I had either all or most of those, but that was it. I that and what was her name? President Reagan, Nancy Reagan anti-drug
Oh yeah,
comic
don't
book
say no.
about yeah, just say no.
Oh,
Comic book
yeah,
about
oh,
angel
yeah,
dust.
just say no. I said don't say no.
Oh, that was all I
um,
had for comic books back then. So
yeah.
I don't know, but the Snarf Quest thing was something that I'd read occasionally. Was it like Dragon or Dungeon Magazine? Like I'd seen
Hmm.
some of them, and Larry Elmore did me a solid. Absolutely respect the guy like crazy because of what he did for me through a painting issue I've talked about a few times. So if I
Right.
can support Larry Elmore, I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any of the, I will support any of the legacy creators of TSR. I think that, I don't even care what some, like, I know some of their politics are not exactly, where I would align with, but doesn't matter to me,
Yeah, well,
because
as we've said a bunch of times on the on our show, I expect most of the creators to be lefties. The difference is
yeah,
because it's art. Gaming is
yeah,
art, and therefore that's just the nature of it. Is most of them are going to be left leaning. That's fine. There's literally nothing wrong with that.
right,
The problem comes in is when they start when the leftist or the rightism, I don't care, goes extreme, and then you have to jam it in your books.
yeah,
That's where the problem was. Somebody was talking once again about Star Trek yesterday, and I was listening to it, and I thought the person had a great hot take. At least with Star Trek, yeah, it had these motifs. It had these, especially for then, these progressive motifs, but it didn't ham fist it. It didn't punch it down your throat. That's
right,
the whole problem. Now they think you're so stupid that if we don't explain it to you, you don't get it.
right. Well, I think that there's a dramatic difference um between classic liberalism
Mhm.
and third wave liberalism, if you want to call it, almost like attaching to it like the differences between feminism,
Yeah.
which old school feminism was, perfectly understandable. There were certain things that were like, no, we should have a right to, you know, talk about these things, say these things, get to be able to do these things, and so on. But then once it got to the third wave, it was Looney Tunes, right? And not, only like 2% of women believe that, kind of
Well,
thing.
it's a
So
slippery slope mentality. People act like there's no
yeah,
such thing as a slippery slope. Well, I mean, there's a reason why adages such as, give an inch, take a mile are out there, but that's fine. Keep pushing the envelope. That's your right and your job. Keep pushing the envelope. However, when the envelope bursts or when people push back, don't be grumpy. Just know that okay, we found the limit.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's this. I just got into this thing today actually on Facebook with a supposed OSR group, and they put up, OSR, OSR RPG with the symbol of with the Antifa flags, right? And then it said resist underneath, or resistance, right? So all I asked was, I went in there, and I never expected to last this long on that particular group anyway. So I went in and I says, resisting what? Like, I just wanted to get into, like, what are you resisting? I mean, is it, are you an OSR group resisting modern gaming? And where it's going, I knew the answer to that was certainly not, but I was just trying to get them to kind of come out, and they're like, well, we're into, punching Nazis and doing this and doing it. I was like, what the,
Have you ever found one? Have you ever
yeah,
found one of
yeah,
those so-called Nazis? I'm waiting for one to
you
pop
know
up because I'll
it,
punch
it's
one with you.
yeah. I'm like it's like just Looney Tunes
Yeah.
that they're just living in a different, in a different space in their heads, that they just see these things that don't exist. And I'm like, all right, well, you know what? I said, listen, don't, you're calling yourself OSR, and what is old school about Antifa? As I was like, if you're talking old school, you're talking, in my mind, I think of old school as being 1970s, 1980s. And, we were certainly in my day, when, a teenager and late teens and such. I mean, I was anti-socialist, anti-communist, anti-Marxist, anti,
I didn't even
you know,
understand what any of that
is
meant in the
I,
70s and
I
80s.
was I was pretty, I guess I was pretty attuned, probably ahead of my time. because I remember in the like 1980 or so, or 79, 80, I mean, we knew this stuff going on. Now I was, 12 years old, 11, 12 years old, almost 13 in 80. And depending on when in 80 it was, March of 80, I was 13. And so I was aware of these things going on. I was, I could see what was going on, and just what we were able to talk about. I mean, I had a T-shirt that I was actually able to wear in junior high school with the Ayatollah Khomeini with an American missile going up his ass, and it literally said "fuck Iran" across it, and that was accepted in my school. I mean, nobody sent me home. Nobody told me to turn that. That was it. But if I had my marijuana T-shirt on, that had to be turned inside out, and they had to call home. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, just like 1980, 80 through, I'd say 85, 86 or whatever. It was hyper, it was hyper conservative. It was very, and we were attuned to the politics of the time, but it didn't make its way into our gaming. You know what I'm saying? It's like
other than the satanic panic.
Yeah, other than the satanic panic, and in that case, we were really in opposition to the evangelical Christian movement against our hobby.
Considering I was in Lutheran school going to Wisconsin Synod, if anybody understands the Lutheran Synods, which that's the really conservative one. Yeah, no, there was no avoiding it. I mean,
yeah, so it was like, I mean, I didn't experience it I knew what was going on, but I wasn't in a household that was, very religious, and so it wasn't really an issue. With us, it was just, my parents really, go out and play and be home by 10 kind of thing. They didn't care anything about what we were doing as long as we were home by 10
when the street lights come on, you better be home for dinner.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. No, we didn't have to get home for dinner.
Oh, wow.
We did not have to get home for dinner. It was just like, be home by 10. That was it. That was the only.
Yeah, I had to be home by dinner without letting them know first, because you came from a poor family. That would mean my mom's cooking extra food that was going to get wasted. But yeah, other than that, it was go back outside and come back when the streetlights come on.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, obviously I got kicked off of this group, and I was like, I can't believe I lasted that long on it, and.
Here's the thing. We've talked about this a bit on some of the streams recently. It's kind of interesting to see, because I'll get blasted for things like, "Oh, you're covering After the Bomb. You're just a furry." What? Or we'll cover Shadowrun, and like Heathen Dog was covering Shadowrun, and he's going through the history of what happened. Like, oh my God, that's a whole bunch of communist socialist dribble. It was weird because when we played it in 1990, we didn't care. I mean, how many post-apocalyptic settings, which is what I tend to like, have something that you could say, "Oh, global warming, that's just communist nonsense," but it's a great simplistic way of ending the world so that we can move forward and play a game. So who cares? Nobody cared back then. Why all of a sudden are we caring now? And I get, we've kind of been conditioned that way. It's that whole thing of like, every time I see a TV show now and I see a strong female and a dumb male, it's like, here we go again. Yet when it was done back in the day, nobody cared. Wilma Deering, Princess Leia, Ripley, we love those characters. Now it's like, oh, here we go again, because they've conditioned us. They've actually put us into that condition so that they can hold it against us. They created the condition.
Right. Well, I look at it as they pretend that there weren't strong female characters in the past. Like some actress came out, "I'm the first one to do this." It was like,
was it Jennifer Lawrence or something like that?
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence, who came out, was like, "I'm the first female action star." I was like, what? I was like, where did you come up with
Didn't
this?
Sigourney Weaver actually call her out on that one? Was it her?
I think a couple of them did, actually. It was like, hello. It's like, it was crazy, but I think that's what it is more so. It's like, I really just don't like when they come out and they act like, well, we did this first. This didn't happen. There was another like really
and everything that you did before was just bad anyway. You may have
Yeah.
thought you did it, but you
Yeah.
did it wrongly, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, so it's it's just nonsense again. And looking at the stuff within the hobby, I know there's a lot of talk right now. It's like, oh, the OSR is infighting, and the OSR is fighting against each, and they're tearing each other apart. And I'm like, really? It's like one or two people just arguing over their associations with other people. I'm saying, it's like, oh well, you talk to this group. I can't tell you how many times when people are like, oh, but you did a video on this game, and it's just a video on a game. It's like, I don't have to agree with everything that the author says or anything that the author says. I'm just looking at the game.
Yep.
And are the mechanics doable? Now, obviously there's a limit to that as well. I mean, at some point I'll be like, I'm not touching this person's crap because they're completely
Everything from Evil Hat.
yeah. I mean, even then, like I absolutely am, totally against their politics and everything. But if somebody handed me Blades in the Dark and I read through it and I could see that, hey, this is a pretty solid system, I'll come out and I'll say, this is a pretty solid system. You know what I'm saying?
If I don't know the person's politics by reading the game book, I agree with you completely. Even if the person did something dumb on Twitter or Facebook or whatever else, if it's not put in the book, then I 100% agree with you. But when you can go through the book and say, oh, I know this person's politics, not that it's the setting of the land, not that it's the overarching, again, climate change destroyed the world, and who cares? Who cares? We just want to have a post-apocalyptic game, and that's describing it. If it's something like that, I don't care. But when it's like, first of all, it comes in, this game removes problematic elements that came in the past. All right, there's a strike against you. Everything that's socialist, communist, or feminist, whatever, is good, and everything that is patriarchal and colonial is bad. Okay, you know what? We're out. I'm out.
No, I can definitely see when it is overtly a part of the game itself. Then I can see, or in some cases they even tie mechanics to it. Then it's like, all right, there's no way that this is just utter crap. And I won't touch it, won't bother with it. But so I mean, that kind of stuff has been going on the last couple of weeks.
Are you involved in any of that? I mean, and I'm not asking, I'm not trying to dig, because it's not funny to me. I'm happy. Again, thank you to everybody who's on my Discord who keeps me interestingly ignorant, because I knew this stuff was going on, but I'm completely out of it. Like, my name got thrown around a little bit, just in terms of like, well, I wonder what Max thinks about this. But I told I even made a video about it when it started to hit me. It's like, I'm out. I don't care what Basic Expert thinks. I don't care what Pundit thinks. I don't care what RPG's Dumb thinks. I don't care what DM Bluddworth thinks. None of that affects me. And I'm not going to start lambasting people, going after people that didn't do anything to me. I get why they are angry. And they all feel they have the right to be angry. And I don't have the right to take that away from them. But I don't want to be in the mix of that. And thank God I wasn't. So thank you to everybody who kept me out of it.
No, I saw it like kind of on the perimeter of it. I could see it going on. I follow all of those people.
I like most of them, if not all of them.
I'm not as familiar with RPG is Dumb. I've seen like one or two of his videos. I might even follow him on YouTube, but I follow like 300 channels on YouTube. Half the times I don't even know who they are. Same thing with like Twitter. It's like I follow like 900 people on Twitter. I have 900 followers on Twitter.
Have you seen my tweets that I posted like a month and a half worth of just troll tweets out there? So for the entirety of July and August, everything that's already scheduled, everything that goes out there, I'm just trying to troll people.
So I mean, it's like, do you seriously think I know all of these people that I suppose on Facebook it's almost like 3,000.
Well, if
It's
you
like,
follow somebody, doesn't that make you his best friend?
yeah, it's like the only thing every once in a while I do is I will go through and see who am I following that doesn't follow me, and then I purge those. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? It's like, or I've been noticing a lot of like everything is written in Chinese or whatever, and I started eliminating those because I was like, nah, I don't even know who the hell these people are, and everything's written in Chinese, so I just figure they're scammers or bots or whatever, so I just remove those. But yeah, but for the most part, it's like I don't care. I don't, there's only a handful of people. Like I got accused of going on to Discord channels. I was like, there's like maybe 6 Discord channels that I go to, and 2 of them are mine. And the rest, it's like, I barely go on them. I go on them once in a blue moon, and they're none of them are mainstream. You know what I'm saying? None of them are very generic, like Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. They're very, very specific. I have
Mhm.
like Legion of Myth. I have I have Tenkar's Tavern on there. Like I said, I have like 2 of mine that I kind of run. I have 2 that belong to the DMs that are in games that I am actually in,
Mhm.
and I have one for Star Trek Fleet Command that I never go to, and that's it. It's like they were trying to say I was like I was on who was that? Exalted Funeral, which I don't even think exists anymore.
That name
And I
sounds
was like,
familiar. What is that?
Exalted Funeral is a like a distributor.
Oh, oh, wait, is that
And
the one that did OSE or whatever?
did they do OSC? Well, they distributed it. I don't think they
Yeah.
published it.
No,
They distributed
Necrotic
it.
Gnome publishes it, but I thought
Right.
that
Right.
that
So I don't give a shit who distributes something. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's totally meaningless.
but Necrotic Gnome did take a bunch of heat for what that distributor did say, though. I forget exactly what it was, but I know there's a kerfuffle a year or so ago about
Yeah,
that.
it was about and they were like, oh, weren't you banned from this server? I was like, no, I don't even remember, being on that server, but a lot of those people that do bannings, they do like mass bannings. It
Yeah,
was like,
shadow
oh,
bans, yeah,
and
or
and
what are they called?
block
Uh,
banning, right? They just take a
yeah,
whole
something like
block,
that. Yeah.
and ban everybody that's even remotely associated with that. So I was like,
That's the
oh,
thing that really angers me is guilt by association. That is the part that actually gets under my skin. Oh, I saw DM Bloodworth talking to somebody you don't like, so blah blah. I'm like, I don't care.
yeah,
like again, Bruce used to host Shadzar, the one and only person I've completely blocked out of
yeah,
everything, and really do legitimately wish ill will upon. And I don't care what somebody thinks about that. Yet I'm still friends with Bruce.
yeah,
I'm not going to hold that against him. Like
yeah.
he's allowed to be friends with whoever he wants to be friends with.
Right. Like I mean, we're all adults, or
Yeah.
supposedly, and I'm not going to tell somebody, oh, you can't, you have to unlike somebody. Twitter never had it, never will. Yeah. Although Twitter is 100 times better than it was before Elon Musk. That's absolutely a fact. I mean, it's 100 times better than what it was. Most of those people just they found that they no longer had that amplified voice that they weren't entitled to
Well, they
begin with.
also didn't have people backing them up. Or like, this person hurt my feelings.
Yeah,
That's literal hate and literal
yeah.
wounding. And Elon's
And then
like,
you get
bro,
banned. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like now it really doesn't happen that often. Um, so yeah, Twitter, and yeah, it's just some place that I pop into every once in a while. But I know, the same person was like, "Oh, I've seen you on Twitter. This is you," and I was like, "Yeah, it's me. I have no problem." I was like, "I stand by every word I say." You know what I'm saying? And if you prove me wrong about something, then I will be the first to admit, "Hey, you know what? I was wrong. Thank
See,
you for
that's where I'm different when it comes to Twitter. I have such disrespect for Twitter that I can't even advertise stuff there anymore because the API is broken and they're like charging content creators for like to have access to the API, because I used to use it mostly for auto posting. And don't read O'Hare Bravo for it. Don't read my tweet tomorrow. My tweet tomorrow is going to make you feel ways about things. But no, or if you do, just know I'm intentionally trying to troll people. But yeah, I used to use it just for advertising live streams.
right.
Posting nonsense out there to see if I could get people's panties in a bind, or retweeting people that I did agree with. That was really it. Now one of those is out, so I just retweet people I agree with or post stuff to get people's panties in a bind.
Yeah. So let's see. I like OSR Blue Red Box D&D simply because it takes me back to when I was 13 in my living room with my friends, eating pizza and drawing maps on grid paper. Yes,
What,
absolutely.
you physically drew with pencil? You didn't just have the game master release it on a computer screen for you? What's wrong with you?
You know, my first experience, and I forget which box set it was that my first dungeon master had, and it was probably like 78 or maybe 77 or 78. It might have been the Holmes edition, not quite sure. And yeah, I just remember that entire experience of the graph paper. I remember the kind of the eraser that he had, because it was the first time I seen the, remember those kind of erasers? They were kind of like a big, like a rectangle, big cube thing that used to fall to pieces when you, but it erased like perfectly, and it used to fall apart. And just remembered it like so much. He had the one grenadier figures of like swamp creatures.
Okay.
And so I played a lizard man, which makes me think it was probably Holmes edition as well. So that was like one of my first characters was a lizard man. And he just drew the map as we went. And we used to plot along every 10 feet. 10 feet, check with the pole. 10, it was like, you know, caltrops, I mean, every single little thing about that first time playing is something that, you know, I still to this day, 40 something years later, I still remember, like completely remember it. And so that's the, you know, that's the nostalgia part to it. To me, that is OSR, you know, is just going back to that style of play, that, you know, the actual games from them as well, you know, and so on. So,
and I think a lot of that has been, I don't want to say lost. I think it's there if you want to look for it, but has been poo-pooed and eschewed and pushed into kind of a corner, the game aspect of it. And that game aspect, like you're saying, included graphing out the rooms. It included talk about dice and numbers. Yeah, to be fair, I'm not fully on board with some of that either, the pure game talk. I like to role play as much as possible, but I get it. That is part of the game concept. A lot of that has been just kind of like, oh no, we want the game to be in a certain manner where it's always, you know, wearing our costume, where it's always like, we don't want to roll dice, it slows down games. Like, well, let's just do improv. Let's, you know, Cosmic Patrol or Fiasco. Let's have a talk back and forth. Oh, what do you mean dungeon master or referee or arbiter? No, that person's just as equal to us as well. Like, no.
No, it was it was just a different time, and every table was going to play differently. None of us, we were all kids. So if anybody thought we were running rules as written, it was like, hell no, we're running rules as written. Every freaking table was.
We're running rules as I want them to be.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, you know, we were doing the rule of cool before that was even a thing. You know, it was like all of the things that they talk about as being, oh, this is, you know, this is the, you know, the new way of doing it. No, it's not. We just didn't have the nomenclature for it. We didn't have.
Well, also the '90s switched a lot of stuff. The '90s added a lot more from at least my perspective. Maybe it started before then, but I saw a lot of simulationist games pop up in the '90s, where instead of rule, like your AD&D or your basic whatever, either thin rule books or rule books that were thick because it had a lot of fluff and ideas in there, actually just be static rules, static rules, static rules. The oldest one I can remember, I mean, well, you had Cinnabar, but let's not talk about that. I mean, Palladium was pretty big on that, honestly, even though it's not crunchy by today's standards, it was definitely crunchy for back then. Thick book with a lot of rules in it. And I think that helped change the face for a lot of people, like what they want more out of the game, more and more and more. I prefer I went through that. I was a simulationist at one point where I'd argue with you over, like, no, I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to do that. So this should be this modifier. Dude, it says if you do this, you just get a +2. No, but I'm doing these things. You know, it's like, oh my God, shut up. I had my own problems with that, but now I've come back, and while I do like a more modern game than D&D, D&D is nostalgia for me. I like the concept of rulings over rules. I want a more rules lightish type game with a nice, good framework to put me into any situations. For D&D, I would tell you right now that's Rule Cyclopedia. I'm not going to argue about Holmes and so forth. I don't know them well enough, but I love Rule Cyclopedia as that because I think it covers everything that I'd ever need.
Right.
And that just offers such a fantastic way of playing without having to get in the nitty gritty. It gives you enough for you to run the game, but not tell you how to do literally everything.
Right. If anybody wants to jump in, the link is right there in the chat box, and you're welcome to join in. As I said earlier on, I can take up to 8 more people. I never know if it includes me, so it's up to 10. So another 8 people can jump in if you wish to, and just talk about your gaming experience or recent happenings in your game. I know I've been doing something on my channel where I've been encouraging people to talk about the games that they ran this past week or played in this past week, and just get us back to talking about actual gaming, not game theory, not, this or that, or where do we think the industry is going to go, or this particular company is going to go, or whatever. What did you do in Tuesday night's game? How to go, how did it turn out? And it's been so much fun just thinking about that and talking about it. And we've been having a ball in my home game, my AD&D first edition game, with just all of the critical all of the critical hits and the fumbles and the party is literally walking out, where one of our guys, he does a lot of graphics, right? So he's been doing magazine covers kind of our campaign, so he's like, our paladin in our group lost his eye, like had his eye completely destroyed. So he needs a restoration spell to, it's not just a cure blindness there. He needs the total eye replaced. So he's been going on now for darn close to 2 months without an eye.
Wait, so your players won't cry about that and say that I deserve a bionic eye because this isn't fair?
No, they're experienced players. They're awesome. All in their 40s through. I think our oldest is probably in his 60s. Okay. So we're all, first edition, second edition, third edition players. Some of them I actually pulled away, out of 5e, and they were like, "Oh, thank God we're back to. I feel like I'm playing D&D again."
Yep.
That was actually the best compliment I've heard in years. It was like, I actually feel like we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, for the first time in decades. So I was like, oh, well, welcome. So I mean, we've just been having a ball with, and that's why I said in my last video, I was like, if you're doing critical hits, you should really find a decent critical hit, critical fumble table with flavored text, because one of our players, he fumbled and he hit the ground and bit off his tongue. All right. So he was the bard. So I was like, all right, well, you're kind of fucked. There's no singing songs for you until you get a restoration spell, because I was like, oh, no, that's not a healing. I was like, you bit your tongue off. That is restoration.
He can hum, right? He can music or something.
Had another player lost 4 fingers, and he was like, well, can I just do a cure serious wounds. I was like, no, you lost the fingers. They're gone. They were completely severed. I says, you can use a mending spell to put them on, but you're still going to have no use. Restoration spell. The eyeball destroyed, restoration spell. So just making it now, it takes like a 16th level cleric to cast that spell. It's like, all right, well, let's see. You have to get to a major city and hope, cross your fingers that you actually find somebody with that. And if you do, you better get some, scrolls made up for you, at like 1,500 gold pieces a pop in order to have access.
Or you're going to be getting lots of geeses and quest spells put on you.
Yeah. It's just talking about our gaming and how much fun we're having at the table. And I think if more people did that, the less they'll be talking about all this other nonsense that has nothing to do with what's actually going on at your table. So let's see, with a 13-page DM homebrew rules. Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, you can have a whole bunch of homebrews and if that's what makes, and I know I'll get some people attack me on this. If that was what makes it fun at your table, because, I think that, this is about having fun. If that makes it fun at your table, then, hey, go for it.
As long as you're upfront about those rules, or if maybe you didn't know about it until people were level 5 and some weird situation came up. I get that. As long as you're consistent, whatever affects the PCs affects the NPCs. Yeah, absolutely. Homebrewing. I don't know anybody that doesn't homebrew. I know a lot of people would say, I play the game raw, but you talk to them long enough, you find there's one or two things they tweak.
Yeah. So I've backed Castles and Crusades, Shadow Dark, Swords and Wizardry, got to back the small businesses that have people who actually play the game. There's a love and the spirit of the game there. Yes, absolutely. And I've obviously backed all of those as well. And I am going to be showcasing those throughout the month of July, because July is OSR and independent TTRPG month, as per Dungeon Craft. All right, so Professor Dungeon Master about a month ago came out and said, hey, you know what, for the month of July, let's just keep on bringing out all of these games from the, whether they be from the past or independent, or I know your channel does that all the time, Max. I mean, you're like the go-to channel now for Palladium and Rift
and Free League,
and Free League and all of those others, but there's just not there's not enough focus on all of these smaller, these smaller publishers, and some of them have decades worth of experience.
Well, there's a flip side to that, and this is what we've run into recently, especially last year, and dealing with OSR-ish type games. I know, I'm saying on your channel, so hopefully I don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
But there are too many of them out there, and this doesn't mean that I want people to stop writing the games. This doesn't mean that I think that you don't deserve to write your game out there. No, go ahead and do it. But my God, there are like a million different types of OSR games. Everybody's little homebrew is now somebody's game, and I get it. You have all the right to do it. You should do it. If you can get people to buy it, by all means. But I'm not going to. I have literally all the multiple different OSR games. I'm not getting any more. Yeah. I have too many games. I'll expand my current collection of like Free League, of Palladium, of D&D, Hyperborea, because I love Hyperborea, Jeffrey Tillanian's Hyperborea. Even some weird games like Bessem, which I might never play because I'm not into anime, but the creator was cool with us, and I like to support him. But I'm, maybe I'll hit Basic Experts, Atomic Punk, because it seems kind of neat. I like the idea of that system. Right. But other than that, I'm just not out there. There are too many games out there. If you like them, advertise them. This guy isn't going to do it anymore.
Right. I know a Basic Expert, he does cow punchers, right? Yeah. So I might take a look at that. I might take a look at that because I really don't have that many. I have, I have Boot Hill of the Westerns. Oh, I have the Wild West ones from Mark Hunt, who does great BX, kind of thing. So I'm wondering if that I need to take a look at that. And I just got the Weird Frontiers, which is DCC, basically. and that's a lot of fun to play. So I
Yeah,
was glad
DCC
to,
lost me after its shenanigans for the last 2 years.
yeah. Well, again,
I know. I get it. That's why I
yeah,
wasn't diving into it.
yeah,
So.
yeah. Games are games, and like I said, I had such a phenomenal time with that, and I try not to. I try not to get into their political things
Yeah, but when you go public with
unless they're
that's the thing.
so blatant about it. Like if they tell me don't buy my game, all right, which we all saw with what's his name from Swyhander just recently, just like the other day or
Oh
whatever.
yeah. I don't mention his name, but I know you.
Yeah, like when he came out, he was like, "Don't buy my games." I was like, "Okay, fine." Certainly, well, I don't think they were lining up to buy them anyway, and but sure, fine.
For me, if you come up publicly and say something, and I come across, I'm not saying somebody slams it in my face.
Right.
Steve Jackson, what he said twice now this year. Once at one, I made a video about. This time, I'm not even going to do that. Yeah. DCC, they've come out a couple times and said some dumb stuff. My favorite game back in the day, Earth Dawn. I mean, with the creator, I won't get into what they did, but they signed a document publicly saying blah blah blah. Don't support this, or you're a bad person. Like, no, if you come out into, I don't care what you quietly do on your own time. Right. Again, I already assume this is who you're going to be. But look, to be fair, on the other side, we yelled at Venger when he was on the stream and said, dude, don't put this in your games. Keep this out. I get that you're trying to do the shock jock. I get that you're trying to push back, and you have the right to do it. You absolutely have the right to do it. But if I'm going to yell at this side for doing it, I've got to yell at this side for doing it as well. Right. Just keep it out of the game and don't put it in my face. Then I 100% agree with you. There you go. That's on that.
Yeah, no, again, it's like you said, very much earlier, like you're not that connected with some of these things going on, and virtually everything that you just mentioned. Like, I mean, I remember when Venture did that thing too, and it was like, when Drive-Thru was like pulled one thing down and you hit it with the next one, following that up with another, well, then look at this, and that kind of a thing. I mean, the Red Room, I mean, I love their stuff too. And they virtually did the same thing, right? It was like, well, like a one-upmanship on it. And yeah, that's gonna come back and bite you.
I'm glad there's a niche. Like the Red Room's a perfect example for me. Yeah. I love the niche that the Red Room is trying to fill. It's not a niche for me.
Right.
But it is absolutely a niche out there that if you're into this even darker, more caricaturish type of Conan-esque type game with, or Red Sonja, big buxom women, big muscular dudes, just going out there clubbing things on the head. Absolutely. Like that is a niche. I'm so happy for their success, and I hope for them to have continued success. But when I read through Men, I don't care if it's parody or not. I couldn't make it through the book. I was like, okay, it stopped being funny about 50 pages ago, and I can't deal with this anymore.
So I don't think these variants can or have a vocation to become the next Shadow Dark unless they strike a chord with the public. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like there's too many, maybe there's too many OSRs, or actually there probably is too many OSRs. There's too many retro clones.
Yeah.
But I look at them like I passed up OSE because I literally said, I don't need another retro clone of BX. I just don't. Now, from what I understand, it's actually more AD&D First Edition, which I have Castles and Crusades to do, which I have Osric that does that. I have other games, and I was like, I couldn't, and then I look at the cost, right? I was like, I can't see dropping $120 on a Kickstarter to get something that I have 5 other, plus the original, I have the originals too. It's like, why do I need this?
I'm 100% with you on that. Yeah. I like to support certain creators. So just to be honest, I'll go out on a limb right now and tell you that if Jeffrey Talanian puts something out for Hyperborea, even if the chances are of me running that are really low, I will still buy it, because that was really the first OSR game that I picked up on and said, oh my God, I like this. Is something new, but the same, similar, but different.
Right.
I love it. I know other people say that about other games. That's great. But for me, Hyperborea is it. I don't know if you can see those white books right there, but that's Adventures Dark and Deep.
Yeah.
I've never even read through them.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the last, that was when I started realizing, like, why am I still doing this? I've got Axe and Adventures Dark and Deep and Hyperborea, and I can see what else, Castles and Crusades and DCC. Yeah. You can see them all right in a line. That's my OSR row right there.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry for all the creators out there whose books I'm not going to buy, but I've got my list.
Well, that's why I like, and that's why I try to show off as many of these as possible. That way people can start to see, well, you know what? Castles and Crusades does something that the other ones don't.
That is true. Absolutely true.
And, same thing with Hyperborea or, or any of those other ones. Like I keep on looking for, and again, it's a quasi addiction, and I still keep on buying this crap, and I don't mean crap like in that sense, but I'm like at some point, I have to find something that is like really unique in that book in order for me to mentally justify that, oh, I'm glad I bought this. There's very few games where I was like, I wish I didn't buy this at all. And I'm hard pressed.
I've got a few.
I'm hard pressed to think of like, oh, that's just utter crap. I'll never touch it. Giant Lands. Giant Lands is the only one that I felt like, God, this was a waste of $90 or
did you also feel like you were lied to? Because when I got Giant Lands and then I picked up, started reading it, I really felt like I was lied to.
Yeah, I just thought, the only thing that I liked about it was the art and the box and the, I mean, the physical aspects of it were nice, but I was like, this isn't, I don't even understand the game mechanics of it, and having to, and yeah, like I said, I mean, it really did not feel like, the big lie was that Ward did not write the game system. If James Ward wrote the game system, it would be, something that's actually useful, but I think Deinhardt wrote the game system, or probably wrote the game system, and the game system is stupid. It just doesn't make any sense. The only thing I think James Ward wrote was the freaking the entry passage, or whatever you call that. I can't think of what that's called. The forward. He wrote the forward of it, and that was it. So I that's the only game I can think of that I immediately. It's not even on the shelf behind me. I threw that in my closet. It's like,
I was gonna burn it. I was literally because I was building a fire pit in my backyard. Yeah. I was going to burn it on stream, but I don't like to stream from my cell phone. Number one, number two. I finally realized, like, I paid for this. I'm not just gonna burn it if I paid for it. Unless I knew that I would get that back in super chats, I'm not gonna burn it.
The art is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the cover art and everything like that. What is it? Easily? I mean, it's an easily art cover. If not easily, I think it's easily.
I'd have to look at it, but then I'd have to put gloves on to touch it.
Yeah. So let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. If they tell you you hate, do you believe them? Yes, absolutely. If they tell you not to buy their product, hey, don't. Don't give, like they say, don't give people who hate you your money.
Yep.
Because it's not going to make them like you any better. And let's see. Good evening, Eric C.
Hello.
And let's see. I don't understand the appeal of Giant Lands.
There isn't any.
The ability of the owner to build entertainment parks based on the idea, which will never happen either. So it's another crazy thing, that is just not going to happen. So yeah, it just, once I got to the point where if you wore, it's Elmore did the cover. Thank you. For some reason I was thinking, Larry Elmore did the covers. So,
that's definitely Elm.
Yeah. So
now you made me touch it.
That's the only thing that makes it worth it, right? Is the box and the art. But anyway, Yeah, once I read the thing where it's like if you wear a mask, you get a game, you get game mechanic improvement. To me, I was like, all right, this is stupid now. This is, this is cosplay. It's not a role playing game. So anyway, Elmore did the cover. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly who. It's been that long since I've looked at it. So,
well, O'Hare, bravo. It's going to be interesting to see because I'm seeing a lot more 5e shills, as I like to call them, making we're done with WotC. Unfortunately, they're going to Pathfinder.
Yeah, which is no real better, or
as a company or a game. Like
they're slowly going back to, they're slowly going back to 5e. And that's because that was their bread and butter. That's, their channels have, for the most part, their channels have always been that, and they're going to go back to it. So I'm watching some of these, and they're following along with the Unearthed Arcana of Wizards of the Coast. That they're putting out these things, and they're following. I was like, I thought you're making your own game system. I'm not going to mention who it is. But I was like, you spent all this time talking about you're making your own game system, and yet you're following every single video on what they're doing with their game. It's like, give me a break. It's like you're not going to get off of this.
Well, this whole PDF stuff or not doing physical product, I'm seeing a lot of the bigger creators start saying, you know what, we're done. We're done with it now. We'll see. We'll see how long that lasts because, you hit the nail on the head where some started to do that and now they're pulling back because probably that viewership went down.
Right.
But I would love to see Palladium get rejuvenation from that. I'd love to see Free League if you want something more modern. Get rejuvenation from that. What else can I think of off the top of my head that I really like as far as game systems? I can't think of any. But I mean, they're OSR. And when I say OSR in this sense, I mean anything. Second edition AD&D, Rule Cyclopedia, Holmes Edition, Hyperborea, Adventures Dark and Deep, whatever it happens to be. Castles and Crusades, actually one that I'd love to see climb more. But I'd love to see these people who supposedly know or have these bigger D&D channels to actually do what most of us would consider D&D really is.
Yeah. Just talk about the older editions. Actually talking about the older editions. Actually talking about the OSRs that are meant to bring those older editions forward, but just with modern formatting and such. So I have no issues with like old school Renaissance, where it's a modern game but using old concepts or old mechanics or whatever, and about 90% of it is old but 10% is new. That's fine.
Like basic fantasy, I think would be an example of that because it uses ascending armor class,
right?
Which as a purist, no, but whatever, it uses ascending armor class, but the rest of it still has an old school feel.
Yeah.
And we know he's a lefty too, but he doesn't slam it in your face.
Yeah. And it's, he still makes his stuff so easily available.
Yep.
I mean, it's like $5 for, $5 for the rule book, and
that's if you get the physical copy. It's free if it's
it's free if it's not, but it's, for $5, grab the physical. It doesn't make sense not to. Because if you had to print that, it would cost you probably $5 an ink to print the damn thing. But anyway, it's just a, like you said earlier, there is a glut, absolutely, but it's not the same kind of glut that you had it with like second edition splat books.
Hey now,
splat books. Hey, all right. I got them behind me, so I'm not saying it for as somebody, but I would have never done it. I wouldn't have done it when I was a teenager. I wouldn't have followed it that long, and I wouldn't have been like, I don't need all these freaking, all
the
these
one thing I say about the splat books differently than what goes on now is I say, we used to say no. Yeah, hey, I want to use the Fighter's Handbook, tight groups and broad groups.
Yeah,
no. I want to play an elf from this domain. No, you like we would. Oh, but that seems pretty neat. This new spell, Chromatic Orb.
Hmm.
Yeah, that actually seems pretty cool. We'll use that out of the Wizard's Handbook. I'm also going to use Wizardly Diseases. Oh, we got a lot of new thief equipment on the Thieves Handbook. Great. That seems pretty cool. Those are things I can maybe put in the game. There were some aspects that were good, but you could pick and choose. I like options,
Yeah.
but you've got to be able to say no. And every time
Yes.
I come across a table, an actual table of people who play 5e, they don't know how to say no.
Yeah, they're afraid to. They're afraid to say no because then it'll be like, "Oh, you're taking away my agency."
Yep.
Um, and that's by design. That's by Wizards of the Coast design. They wanted to limit the power of the dungeon master and tie it all to the rules.
Mhm.
And I mean, of all the editions that are rules as written, that 5e is the one that's predominantly the rules as written, version of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, five E. I've said it on my streams a bunch. 5e is the culmination of it. It started with 3E because in 3E, the big thing that I talk about quite a bit is if you remember in first and second edition, you had Forgotten Realms. I play Forgotten Realms in Cormyr. I play Forgotten Realms in the old lands. I play Hollow World. I play Mystara. I play Dragonlance. I play Dark Sun. Yada, I could go on and on, right? Oh, we do Ravenloft. Well, WotC didn't like that. WotC wanted him to say, I play Dungeons and Dragons. So how did they do that? They homogenized everything. We're not going to say gnomes can't be paladins. Well, then it's not D&D anymore. And it's not just that one thing. But when you take away all that and just make everything, it's up to the game masters to allow or disallow. When it's in the core rule book, you know how hard that is? Theoretically, it's very easy to say, no. But when you really get to these tables, no, why not? It's in the core rulebook. Oh my God, my game master sucks because he doesn't blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's, the one thing I would love to do with a group of players is just to really like a litmus test is to go out there and I'll put the female strength limits in, like from let's see how this goes.
But again, and I think you've talked about this in the past where it's like it never gave you a negative modifier. It just said your max is this. And if you look at the standards, unless this has changed in the last few months, the strongest woman in the world lifted 660 pounds. The strongest man in the world lifted over 1,000. I think it was 1,004, 1,104. That's quite a bit of a difference.
It's like just to really shock the hell out of them. And I know I had this conversation back, going back to some of the things that if I were running 5e or if I were playing in 5e and with Silvery Barbs, which has actually been coming up in some, various channels and everything. I think even Matt Mercer came out and was like, this is something I'm getting rid of.
I don't know what it is.
Silvery Barbs is a first level spell that everyone should carry, right? So basically what it does is it forces the person you cast it upon to automatically fail their roll. All right. And they have to, and it's retroactive or it's a reaction, right? Okay. So they make a roll. Let's say they do a critical strike on one of your members in your party. Well, you can cancel out that critical strike. All right.
Wait, after the fact? Oh my God, no.
No. You can cancel it. And not only that, but you would transfer the advantage to someone else where they can then take an action with advantage against that opponent. And the first time that I raised a big stink about this thing when I heard about it, it was in the context of players using it against other players in their party to prevent them from doing things that they didn't want to happen. So they didn't want a player to attack an NPC. So they would cast this on the player's attack, preventing him or her from actually attacking the NPC, and then granting the advantage to the NPC to then respond, in whatever way in order to eliminate combat from what was going on. And
That would be good. If we survive that fight, you're getting a beat down in the middle of the night.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, I would consider that as a DM, and I would consider that as a player as PvP.
Yep.
All right. You have just interfered with my action, and just wait till you turn around. Especially since I usually play thieves, just wait till you turn around. All right. You're getting backstabbed. You know what I'm saying? And, it's going to be, and the other problem is that everybody would have it because they let you, and this comes out of Strixhaven, which was garbage anyway. Everyone would have it because everybody would take that feature of initiative. Initiate. So everybody has first level spell casting. So every single player character is going to run around with silvery barbs because they can just turn the clock back on anything bad that happens to them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I get to roll my death saves with advantage now. Or I get to, it was just crazy.
To Justin's comment up there, Justin, players are supposed to have the agency, not NPCs. And hold spells. NPCs are never supposed to use hold spells anymore. Charm spells, hold anything that doesn't allow the players' characters to act in a full and functional manner is considered bad. But the players are absolutely allowed to use that against the NPCs, which is BS. If you can use it, I can use it. That's just the way it is.
Even when they tried to take away, Jeremy Crawford was like, they tried to take the critical hits against players out of the game. All right. And there was,
I remember that.
Surprisingly, there was massive pushback. We were like, oh, okay. He said, I can see about 60% of you were opposed to that. I was like, bullshit, 60%. It was like 90% of the people were opposed to that. It was like there was no way that their numbers were matching all the comments that we saw. It was, and really quite surprisingly, it was an immediate pushback on that from every single corner. It was like, oh, no. The monsters have to be able to critically hit people because you have players running around with 150 hit points and they roll 26d6 damage when they attack something. It's like you're just completely neutering any kind of danger that the players might actually face.
So for Eric C, I don't allow player character Kender. So, and that's definitely in the book. That's core to the game. I don't allow player characters to be Kender or Tinker Gnomes or Gully Dwarfs. And as far as the ogres go, the Urda, I don't know if they're considered half ogres or not, but the Urda, I also say no to. I say no to that. I say no to Minotaurs. Basically, you can be a human, an elf, a dwarf, and a half elf. And you can pick between Qual and Essie, Sylvan, Essie, whatever. But that's it. I don't allow a lot of that stuff. And if people cry, there's the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Kender as NPCs. I hate him as player character circle.
Well, is that because players don't play them right well?
Yeah, they play them mischievously instead of innocently.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them being mischievous. I would have more of a problem of them being just like stupid and like out of control kleptos of.
That's the Gully Dwarves.
Everything, or no, that's Kender too. Kender are they borrow everything.
Yeah, but I don't see them as mischievous. That's one of the things that they promoted in the books really heavily is that it's innocence. Like the Kender really doesn't believe it stole something. It wasn't trying to take it from you.
Right. So people playing 5e that a narrative mantra that always say yes. Yeah.
Yes, and.
Yeah. And like I said, like in my own example, I know one of my players, Mirador, is here. When you have an injury, and he'll attest to this too, when you have an injury that removes the ability to use something, like your tongue is severed, your eye is destroyed. That's a clear case. The, restoration spell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. You're not going to heal that. You're not going to. You're going to have to get that part restored. And I'm sure that there's a lot of players, oh well, how about a cure critical? No, it's like it's
How about
not a wound
how
anymore.
about a wheelchair and a bionic eye?
Yeah, it's completely destroyed. It's completely removed. There's
Can I
no
staple in a naga tongue and
yeah, it's just and it's one of the things that I'm, pretty hard set on, because when I was first playing the game, my DM, there's no resurrection. It's like you die, you're dead. You
so
know,
what I do is I actually a resurrection comes at a cost. Somebody I never tell this to
yeah,
them up front. So if any of you playing my game, forget this. But somebody is going to die. Now
yeah,
it's not going to be another player character unless that person's really pissing me off. but it's going to be it could be somebody that it could be your thieves guild, and all of a sudden you're going to have to deal with the fact that there's a splinter in the thieves guild. It could be somebody who's used to paying you that owes you money.
yeah.
But it's going to be somebody as soon as you get back to a town or a city or whatever, you're going to be going looking, we got to go talk to James to see if he's going to send us on another, mission or so we can turn in these artifacts we found or something else. Oh, you didn't hear? James passed away and left everything to his daughter. And well, his daughter was now married off, and well, that estate is gone. So,
Yeah. So eventually my DM had buckled, and he says, all right, I will put a resurrection spell into the game. It'll be on a scroll, and I'll set it up where you will go on an adventure to find a scroll. He put it into Tomb of Horrors. Total party wipe.
Did you find it?
The first time? No, never got to it. We first group, total party wipe. Second, now luckily he told us don't bring your primary characters into this.
Okay.
So we rolled up characters just for that. Our primary characters hired this group to go and get it. They all died. Then we tried with our primaries. We lost 3 out of 5, and we backed out. I ran away. I was like, nope, I'm running.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out of here. And we ran. And we're like, all right, nobody's ever going to ask for a resurrection spell ever again in this campaign. But that's the kind of DM that I cut my teeth with, right? I mean, that's what we had to do.
You had the opportunity, you just couldn't make it there.
Yeah. So let's see. But the difference between men and women are social constructs. Silver Barbs was banned in all of my games the second I read it. Yeah,
I can see why.
I mean, it's like, like I said, I think that Matt Mercer just came out like last week or within the last couple of days and said, this is the one spell I'll never allow at my table. I don't know why it took him that long to figure that out, or to see, maybe he just never looked at Strixhaven before, because that's where that spell comes in from. Okay. But he was like, yeah, no, this can't be used. It's too powerful. And to make it first level is ridiculous. That should be like a 5th level spell. So the same people who complain about not having agency want a spell to remove someone else's agency. Sounds like a pink hair to me. Absolutely. It was literally the way I heard it described, which was an actual, description of what happened in their gameplay, was that the party, most of the party members did not want to have any combat, all right, during the Strixhaven storyline. And so they just interfered with anybody trying to use a combat solution to it. And I was like, nah, I mean, I would have gone total PvP on anybody standing in the way like that. Hello, fellow nerds. Hello, paladins of the plains.
Isn't that called a purr? Isn't it a PER? Isn't a paladin that has been elevated to the celestial domain? Isn't that a purr?
That's an ethereal knight, I guess. Or I don't know.
It's in one of my compendiums. I just don't know if I have it. I love you, second edition AD&D with your compendiums.
The splat books. So, yes, you play your character, but you know the kind of people who are doing this kind of shit play themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. See, I personally would not remove Kender from it. I would just tell them, you're not Tasselhoff Burfoot. Don't play your character like an established character. Play your character uniquely.
What I ran into this, it's just in my case, because I ran a lot of Dragonlance setting,
Yeah.
homebrewed, but still Dragonlance setting. And every Kender turned out really to be a dick, just wanted to be a Loki practical joker.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
like, no.
it's bad role play.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad character race.
Oh, yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah.
There's one guy, of all things, a guy in high school, a young guy. He's the only person that I ever saw play a Kender that, in my mind, actually met the Kender model that did all the shenanigans, but did it through innocence.
Mm-hmm. With every fiber of my being.
Crafty Matt says Kender NPCs like Dwarven clerics. First edition, I got.
Let's see. Oh, I didn't get that far yet. Let's see. Destruction
says every 5e player ever.
Yeah. No, I use the critical chart out of Castles and Crusades. So that's where that comes from. Yeah, so people losing arms, legs, teeth, fingers, tongues.
Listen, that last one, Justin, that's a man after my own heart. I played about 20 years. I almost exclusively played necromancers.
Oh, I meant but equally important to have a necromancer. Yes. So I run. I'm interested here. I run Shadow Dark without half orcs and goblins. One group I run, they are all lawful and don't like gods and demons, so I adjust that. Another group is game on that, so both have fun. All right. Why don't you run with half orcs and goblins? I'd be curious to see.
Because they're monsters that should be killed.
Well, half orcs are
monsters that should be killed.
They're old school. Half orcs have been from the very beginning.
Yeah. Why take the chance?
I'm sure Matt knew about this spell, but started it pre-OGL. Will not have argued too many 5e credits. All right, that's true. Not that CR is moving beyond. Speaking against it is not so bad. Now that they're moving beyond, yeah. Yeah, that's a big controversy too, with their Candela Obscure, and is it a rip-off of, well, they give it credit and everything like that, and although I don't think that Harper had much of a choice but to say, well, I'm glad they're using my system. He's probably pissed off to no end, that they're using his system without, initially giving him credit for it or whatever and claiming it as their own. But that's what the OSR is, right? It's borrowing from other places and bringing it all together into your, although they could call it a homebrew, I guess, of Blades in the Dark, but they're certainly not going to want to do that. They should really avoid doing anything similar to that with their Daggerheart, which is a terrible name for a game system anyway. Yeah, they should. I mean, they can keep the D20 mechanic if that's what they want to do, but I think that nothing else, and the attributes, if that's the way that they want to go, but nothing else should be even remotely related to 5e. Certainly not with like Kobold Press did with the Tales of the, non-Valiant, because there's nothing valiant about what they did along those lines with that game system. It's basically it's a 5e. It's a 5e, not even a clone. It's a 5e homebrew. Okay. That's all that is. They want no combat in their campaign. What WotC has done to our beloved D&D. It's not D&D anymore.
Yeah.
I call WotC, it's WotC's fantasy RPG.
Third edition. Yeah.
Third edition. They've never made a D&D game.
Okay, there we go. Like, oh no, that spell just got removed from your spell book. Oh geez.
Yeah.
Oh, what were those bookworms? Were they just called bookworms? Those bugs that could eat spells out of spell books?
Yeah. There's yeah, they were called bookworms,
Or
right?
an intellect devourer to take it out of your noggin.
Yeah, and take it out of your memory. Let's see. I knew a guy like that. A guy I never seen. Heterosexual it can be. Who played chicks as characters who never were stereotypes. He was a great role player. Yeah, it happens. You know, not everybody plays female character. Not every guy plays female characters to be like thoughts and you know, just off kilter, you know, extreme you know, caricatures of women or whatever, you know, and not many women women players, not many women I've encountered in role playing in general. Of course, most of them have been in like the MMO world, you know, and that, but you know,
Or in Vampire.
well, I never played Vampire,
Okay.
so you know, I knew most of the women that I played Eve online with.
Mhm.
I mean, they were fucking brutal. I mean, they were absolutely brutal. I mean, you want to talk about like corporate assassins and
Were they goons?
some of them might have been. Actually, most of them that I encountered, because for a while there, I was in a Russian pirate corporation. All right, and so I mean, they were just and there were two. I think there were two female pilots in our group, and they were absolutely brutal. And at one point, one of them took over the leadership of the corporation, and nobody messed with her. I mean, she was just out of control. Like, you know, none of the other corporations around would mess with us at all. They would just give up their shit. They drop their cans, you know, just take our loot, take our stuff, just let us live, you know, kind of thing. And but yeah, I've always had very, very positive experience with female players. I have a female player in my current game as well. And you know, she doesn't play this, you know, hyper alpha character, although she has very many leadership qualities. She's also, you know, a military veteran herself. But and she certainly doesn't play the, you know, the wallflower either. You know what I'm saying? It's like she kind of strikes a balance, you know. So she definitely has leadership qualities, but she's not like insanely hard charger kind of thing, you know. Like, you know, both you and I were both in the military, and you kind of knew some of those female officers that it's like, you know, when they walked in the room, you look for an excuse to leave, you know, because it was like, oh, you know, or, you know, they used to whisper down, oh, she's on her way. I was like, let's get the fuck out of here.
I had a couple master sergeants like that.
Yeah.
Officers I didn't really have to in my entire career. Even now, still 30 years later, still working for DoD. Very rarely had any problems with female officers. A couple master sergeants though, I got some stories.
Yeah. No, we only had one in my unit where we kind of ran out of, and she was actually, you know, true story. She was actually the commanding general of Abu Ghraib when they went down. That was my unit.
Oh wow!
Right? And I remember her when she was a major, and because I was with that unit until '99, and so this was like by 2003, she was in charge of that one particular unit. And when, you know, they basically, you know, sandbagged her, like, you know, they basically laid it all on her lap. Or she was she wasn't a general, she was a colonel, Colonel Kopinski, I believe her name was. Goes back so many years. You know, and She was the one that we used to have to avoid. She was one that we didn't want to deal with. Our S3 was a Lieutenant Colonel. Westmoreland was her name. I just remember it because
related to General.
I don't know. To be honest with you, she might quite possibly had been, and that's why I just knew her name. But remembered her name. But she was, she was very, level. You know what I'm saying? It's like you knew she was a high-ranking officer, a lieutenant colonel. She, you were going to listen and do whatever she told you to do, but she wasn't clearing rooms like the other one was. You know what I'm saying? It's like it had us all scurrying, and this was around the same time period as Tailhook, so that was, a big deal, at that time as well. So
I can remember. I know I had a couple of minor run-ins. Like when I worked for the Marines, there's a captain. There was annoying, but there's only one officer I've ever run across, and of all the coincidences in the world, she was from my hometown, and I'm from a small town in Minnesota, and she was from my hometown. And man, because she tried to make anybody's life hell. I don't know what ever happened to her. I don't even remember her name, but yeah, she was the only officer that if she was around, I said some unprofessional things that I probably could have gotten in trouble for to her face. But that thank God didn't happen. But yeah. Usually, but it's always in my career since then, since getting out of the military, it's always majors and lieutenant colonels. It's like colonels are usually pretty good. General officers have always been great. Lieutenants and through captains, or other than Air Force captains, like to touch buttons. Air Force, teach your captains to stop touching buttons. They don't know it. They're not as smart as they think they are. What other than that, it's majors and lieutenant colonels, man. It's like, what the hell do they teach those guys where it's like they think they're God's gift to the world, and then they have to, get beat down a little bit to make colonel. They're finally tolerable again.
Yeah, so Mirador chimed in, and this is our player, Leah, who plays Sparrow, our druid, and she knows her character and is always ready when her turn comes up. Yeah, she's always ready and always does something that, not that I entirely anticipated, but it's always like the smart move to do, even though sometimes it takes us in a different direction than I was planning on. But hey, it's that's the best way to be taken off of where you were looking to run. Is when they come up with something that that is smart and takes them in a different direction. So thank God I was in the airborne infantry. So I'm guessing you didn't have females in the airborne infantry. Maybe not at that time. So anyway, Lala Justin. Okay. Let's see. Never dishonor the righteousness of a murder hobo. I have a way of turning my players into murder hobos.
Because you give them XP.
No. It's more so I hit them with consequences when they have either befriended the wrong party or trusted the wrong party or whatever. And it's like, the first time they encountered that incident was really early on. And they had captured this evil druid, and they charmed him. And then they left him in a closet as they continued to search through the rest of the complex. And when they returned, he had just walked away. It was like, all right, they just left him alone. And that came back to haunt them. And for like 40 weeks, he was like their arch nemesis. And, just kept on, having to deal with the various things that he was doing. And then just recently, and Mirador is actually the player that ran into this issue the most. They had once again they charmed an orc. They slapped a a helm of alignment change on him, and it converted him to neutral. And he traveled with them for. He was almost like their pet, their what do you call them? Like their wagoneer, you know. So they're
nice little henchman.
Yeah. He was like a henchman for them. They suited him up with a +1 chainmail armor, +1 hand axe, and due to a deck of many things, Mirador's cleric, Mirador's right here. Mirador's cleric had his alignment changed to neutral evil, so he goes in and he takes the what did he do? He cast a dispel magic on the helm, and of course the orc reverts back to his chaotic evil nature. Killed 2 people in the stables because that's where he was forced to sleep because he was still an orc. Everybody else were like, oh, we're going to trust your group, but he has to sleep in the stables. So he killed 2 people in the stables and then ran off. All right. And so it was just a consequence, you know, and the paladins were like, no more of this shit. We're going to kill every fucking thing we come across that is even slightly evil or questionable. And he kept on saying, like, over and over again, nits make lice, nits make lice. It was like you kill them all. So it's really been a fun way of making consequences of things actually have long-lasting ramifications or even benefits too. I mean, benefits should be long-felt kind of things that happen where, you know, you walk into a village that has already heard of you before you got there, you know, when you walk into, you know, a feast being presented to you, you know, because they were expecting your arrival. So, you know, things along those.
The flip side, though, is you kill too many things, too many people. You get that murder hobo designation. People aren't going to trust you. It's like, you seem to be a little, you know, twitchy with that sword arm there.
Yeah, and so now they're hunting down as part of their atonement, they're hunting down the orc. They have to kill him now and bring his head back to the village in order to redeem themselves. Thus, nobody plays half orcs. Yeah. Again, there's they encountered a half orc very early on. That was a lawful good half orc, and
now you're making my ears bleed.
Yeah. No, it was just a twist, and they learned. It was like, oh crap, we misjudged this guy completely. We bought right into the stereotype, and he turned out to be a stalwart companion for about 4 or 5 weeks.
Until he killed all their horses, took all their stuff, and ran off because he's an orc.
So Toka made it clear who you can trust. Yes. Although, actually, until you read the Silmarillion and you learn that, you know, there were a whole lot of elves that were assholes, you know, and not just Sauron or any of those. I mean, there were a lot of them that were real assholes. So it was like, wow. That's a tough read. But when you catch the characters that are in there, it's like, wow, there's not that many good guys in this in the Silmarillion at all. So too many players or the party become a murder hobo party. The party becomes an NPC party. Roll up new characters to hunt down the other ones. Yeah, we haven't gotten to that point yet. They haven't killed any innocents. Let's put it that way. They just don't take any prisoners, basically.
Don't trust anything that can live longer than you. It'll wait you out.
Yes. Oh, let's see. So what else has hey, if anybody else wants to jump in, I will put the link in there. And you want to talk about your gaming or anything you have going on in your channel, you're welcome to do so. So I'm assuming, Max, you're going to be off for tomorrow, whatever. And
Yeah, I was teleworking today. I'm off tomorrow, and the rest of the week I took leave, so I'm pretty much off. But I'm trying to catch up on writing that I haven't done in a long time, and I got about 9 pages done today, which isn't too bad.
oh, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to.
Out of 9 pages, I'll probably keep 1.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of work to come out with just one.
No, I guess there's at one point. Look, for one of the versions of the game, I have over 1,000 pages written.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks, Crafty.
Well, it's everybody's off, so they're going to be going there to buy a car for them, so they can blow it up for 4th of July. So once it's off the lot, half the value. Come back with all the fireworks damage, and guess what, buddy?
Yeah, I saw that YouTube clip someplace, or maybe it was on Twitter or whatever. The guy sets off the fireworks and it blows up his whole minivan right next to it and everything like that. That's a hilarious one. Let's see. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I don't plan on doing anything tomorrow. We postponed our Tuesday night game until Friday. And then yeah, next weekend I'll be back into the full swing of things. I had a couple things I have to do on Wednesday and Thursday, so I'll see how my week goes.
Yeah, I was in 2 games, but one unfortunately fell apart due to internet drama, and I think after some time that might get going again, probably with a little bit different player base. And then I was in Jim Zelkov's Pathfinder 2 game. And I stirred up a little hornet's nest there, and now the game is broken up into 2 groups.
Oh boy!
But that's cool. I mean, he keeps assuring me that I had nothing to do with its breakup, that he's actually kind of considering some of this already. But I was like, yeah, well, I was sure a strong impetus then, because I know how certain players felt about me coming in because of the way I roleplay. Somebody who had a chat earlier said, Max, leave the racism at home. Like, nope, I play up fantasy racism. I love fantasy racism, but I love it in the context of like Legolas and Gimli, where it's, you're a stupid dwarf. Oh, you're just an elf, blah, blah, blah. But as time goes on, you build a bond.
Right. Yeah. As time goes on, you shatter the stereotype image that you had, and you
well, to a degree, because I also believe that demi-humans are stereotypes. They're meant to be stereotypes. Diversity is human. Everything else is the personification of a stereotype. But with that said, that doesn't mean they can't get along or have some sense of mutual understanding, even if they don't. I still don't understand why dwarves are so damn stupid. Like, how can you not see this through? How can you not understand that by me being steadfast and like stone makes me strong? There's some things that they might not see eye to eye on, but they can start to respect it. And that's one of the things. And I brought that into this game, so to speak. And a couple of the players were not appreciative of that. The good news is a couple of the really good, no, I don't want to say that because it makes somebody else sound bad. A couple of the people who appreciate role-playing more actually want to continue down, now with a more sandboxy feel, a little bit more personal storyline while still continuing on with the campaign. So I'll be role-playing with them. But yeah, so other than that, I'm not playing any games right now. A longtime friend of ours who's on our Discord, he's talked about running. He's got a world that he created. He said for 2nd edition, but I don't ever remember playing his game, at least not his world. So I thought he started with 3rd edition, but either way, but he's so tired of 5th edition and WotC nonsense. We convinced him to start running it in Worlds Without Number.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm looking forward to that because I haven't played. I haven't really read through Worlds Without Number, so I'm absolutely interested in playing that game.
Yes, humans are the pawns and the prize of the cosmic fight between alignments. Demi-humans are tied to the world, and they are therefore more set in the stereotypes they represent. Yep.
Again, we're talking a Dungeons and Dragons or a Tolkien-esque world. I get that. Palladium has dwarven magic users. Earth Dawn has dwarven magic users. Sure. And this is why one of the things I love about Free League is Free League has found a way to, do you have Forbidden Lands? Have you looked through it?
No, I don't have Forbidden Lands.
So Forbidden Lands to me is a great balance between let's be a little more open-minded, a little more new school and rules, but let's actually keep a lot of those tropes or put a little spin on those tropes. And so dwarves are dwarves. And
Yep.
there are certain things that as a dwarf, this is going bioessentialism. That's right, baby. Bioessentialism is going to happen. And the best story are the halfling and goblins. I don't know if you've heard about it, but the halfling and goblins, they're actually pretty much the same race. And what happens is when two halflings procreate, they could pop out a goblin. And two goblins could pop out a halfling. So they have these in the middle of the night out in the wilderness baby swaps that they do.
Yeah.
Goblins own it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we know we're douche nozzles, so we're just gonna be douche nozzles. Halflings, no, they have this facade of look at me, I'm a great little person. Then they slam the door, they're beating their wives, they're alcoholics. So it's interesting what they did with that, but there's still the stereotypes where humans are the diversity trope, and they are whatever, the demi-human, the kin as they call it there, trope.
Yeah, I could see dwarves using rune magic.
If you base them on the Scottish, I was going to say nonsense, but Scottish idea,
yeah. Yeah, they should be using runic, or like you said, elemental, but only like earth, earth magic.
My problem with dwarves having magic in Dungeons and Dragons specifically is a dwarf gets a +1 bonus to its saving throw against magic for every 3.5 points of Constitution. The drawback to that is you don't get to throw magic spells around.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
they just throw rocks at you. They call them magic rocks. Yeah. They hit hard enough to be.
So, let's see. Oh, so someone mentioned that we're both on the OGGM just mentioned that both you and I are on here, but we're not talking about the person he thinks that will accuse us of talking about.
Who's that?
So, the OGGM says that he sees that we're both on, a stream, and he says another individual, which I won't mention, will think that we are talking about him.
There's only one person.
We haven't mentioned him. So,
and this dude's apparently been making videos about me saying, I don't know, something about he doesn't like my voice and that he's a gang member or some crap. I don't know. I haven't been watching the videos, but people have been sending me messages about this stuff. Yeah. Like, dude, every time you have a Friday chill stream, four of his videos are about you or your stream. Like, okay. If we're talking about that person, look, the dude has all the right in the world to make whatever videos he wants. He can like who he wants to like and not like who he doesn't want to like. Look, I have zero issues with the guy. Again, if we're talking about the same person, I actually wish him success if he would get off the whole the OSR hates me and I'm a victim nonsense. Other than that, I honestly do. I think that when he's focused on Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop RPG content, whether you like him or not, it's worth watching.
Yeah.
But
this is the first time I'm hearing about
I think you know who we're talking about, at least who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Matt knows who I was referring to as well. But if we, no, I don't think he's a gang member. I think that, no, he doesn't think he's a gang member.
Well, I'm just saying that's the message I got. Like, he doesn't like your voice and he's like a gang member or something. I'm like, okay.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't see it. So, there isn't enough orange in the banner image. I don't know what that means. We got a lot to get right here. What banner image? I don't know.
I don't know banner image either.
Yeah, I don't know what. Unless
maybe he's watching two streams and he's actually chatting with somebody else right now.
Oh, that's possible. Orange Man. No. I don't know anything about Orange Man. So, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't see the chat, so I don't know what it is. But if OGGM is talking about somebody else, I haven't talked to OGGM in a long time.
Yeah.
He should pop on in here. Tell him to come in here.
Well, he's not in the he's not here. He is in Twitter.
Stop twatting, dude. What is your problem?
To jump in and people can. Anybody that wants.
If it's me, I'll leave. I will leave.
Anybody.
If you also hate my voice, because to be fair, I hate my voice. I wish it wasn't as nasally or as high. But you know what? If it's me, if I'm intimidating you because I'm a monster of a being, I get this. I'll drop out so you can come in.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's doing that. But Anyway, if anybody would like to join in, still going to run for a little bit longer because I think around 9 o'clock my eldest daughter should be coming home, and it's pouring rain outside. So, and
Your chat's getting as interesting as mine. I like that.
yeah, you guys tweeting about the live stream. Come on and chat like real men, you chat.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, my channel is open to anybody. I think there is only one individual that I have actually blocked from my channel, and that's just because the guy came in and made comments about another person on my stream, based on their looks. And I was like, nah, I'm not, what are you, a child?
Wait, he did that on the stream?
Yeah, it was a person on my stream, and then someone came in the chat and was like, oof,
I'll remember that because I have a bad habit of doing that just to mess with people. Because I believe in body shaming. This guy needs to be body shamed as well. Bruce is the first, actually, after the last stream, when we got done with last stream, like, Max, why do you keep saying you're fat? You're not fat. I actually stood up and let them see it. Like, actually, unfortunately, because I don't work out, my shoulder's been messing with me for months now. So I haven't been exercising the way I'm supposed to. And they're like, oh, I'm like, you really hide that well. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, chill stream image on the other day on the stream with Fritz. Oh, okay. So he was talking about you were photoshopping the chill stream image the other day on stream with Fritz.
Yeah. So I was on his stream. I was working on Photoshop while I was just sitting and talking with him on his stream. Yeah. So I had a. Can I share something here?
Sure, go right ahead.
Let me see if I can get this. Hold on, let me open this up first. So Crafty, since he's watching, I hate you, Crafty.
Do I have to give you some kind of permission to share? Or...
I don't think so. But you might have to be one that finally shares it. I have to find it first. Crafty got all pissy with me this morning, saying, "Oh, you look like a clown." Because I'm playing around with the algorithm a little bit. Doing pictures of me going, crap like that. Look, if RPG Elite can do it, I can do it as well, right? Give me a second here to find these things. Where'd they go? Thumbnails, Friday chill stream, thumbnails. There we go. And now let me bring them up. Oh, this is going to open in Photoshop, isn't it? Crap. So I made a bunch of them. Open. See if they go to Photoshop. Yeah, they're going to Photoshop. This is going to take a minute because I'm opening 10 at a time.
Okay.
But he's like, you look like a clown. I hate it when people do this, so on and so forth. It's like, oh, you want to talk about clowns? Hold on, I've got a new thumbnail image coming up. So Crafty's the impetus for this. If you're afraid of clowns and don't want clowns in the thumbnail, blame him.
Do you look like Thaco the clown?
Just 1 second. There we go. Not exactly. Let me go over there, and now I can present my screen, share screen, entire screen, that over there. Boom. All right. Yeah, you have to put it in the show, though.
All right, I can do that.
These are the new Friday Night Chill stream. Got that one.
You look like Tim Curry in that.
These aren't me. Yeah. These are just clown images.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's what the first clown image kind of looked like.
So we're clowning around on the Friday Night Chill stream, thanks to Crafty. And I've got 180 of these clown images I found out that I can spread around to have more and more fun.
Hey, Hungar. How's it going? And
hey, Hungar, good to see you.
Yeah.
There we go. Those are the ones I made today. So now you've seen
really cool.
Upcoming chill stream.
Yes. Definitely cool.
That's your clown free. But yeah, I was working on those as so GM Fritz does the painting and so forth. I was working on a lot of RPG Digest ones and made this Friday chill stream ones as well.
Let me see. I gotta be careful here.
Max is doing so. No, Crafty, I'm calling it pissy. I'm on the stream. I get to tell the stories I see fit.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see.
Yeah, they were the ones where you going, crap like that.
To recreate the joke of character concept in a rogue in a D&D first edition campaign. Yep. And well,
Dream about me, honey. Dream about me. That'll keep you awake all night.
Yeah. So
that's right, ladies. Hungar's taken.
So let's see. What else do I have?
Didn't you want to talk about OSR? Did we talk about any OSR?
Did we OSR? Yeah. Well, yeah, we talked in the beginning, and
okay.
we, of course, went on. I've had 2 shots since then. By the way, I am drinking. I'll be like the RPG pundit when I talk about what he talks about what he's smoking. So, Kraken Black Roast Coffee, rum.
It's like a superhero label.
Oh, this stuff is awesome. Absolutely delicious, and one of my drinks of choice. So, I mean, rum is basically the only thing that I drink. So, but that's one of my favorite.
One of my things about the OSR is I'm not really deeply invested in the OSR. I mean, you would much more so than me, just because. And I'm not talking about people. I'm just talking like the games. Because I'm not really a basic D&D. I didn't play back in that era. I've said it very openly that I'm a Dragonlance era dirty campaigner. That's right. I like my characters to grow. I like to role play. I like the idea of playing a character over kicking down doors. That's just, my style. Where Shauner wants to make a movie and some people just want to kick in doors and get XP. I like to develop a character from the beginning to end. I like to write a book, if so to speak. Again, I believe in dungeon master agency. I believe in sandboxing. I believe the characters die. I'm not talking we're writing a story. It's emergent storytelling.
Right.
But I kind of bridge that gap between the really old school players that are like, Gygax did it this wargamey way, versus the new players like, everything is about my background. I'm kind of in the middle, when it comes to that. So
yeah. Now I'm going to disagree with you on one point that you just made. There was that I don't consider OSR to be only D&D. All right.
True. No, I know.
You're running Rifts. That's OSR to me. Basically, I say anything that was, pre-1990 to me is old school. All right. It does not have to be D&D. And 10 years from now, 2000 will be old school. I have that feeling like, and I know I've probably said it to you when I've said it a number of times.
But it deserves to be said again.
When I came to that realization, I was driving one time on a Sunday morning and I turned on an AM station and it was like the morning oldies. And what comes on? Motley Crue. And I was devastated. And at the same time, I thought to myself, hey, wait a second. If in music, the morning oldies keeps on expanding to include the next decade of what falls into that, then old school tabletop role-playing games does the same thing. So by 2030, all of third edition, let's say, or even 3.5, I guess. I don't know when 3.5 kicked in. No, that came in later. So third edition will be old school. All right. And by 2050, fourth edition will be old school.
I think that's where you and I differ when it comes to the gaming, because for me, old school is more of a mentality, and the games can emulate that. And this isn't a disagreement. I'm just saying, like I look at it, if the game is deadly, if the game espouses rulings over rules, and if the game allows that emergent storytelling, whether you just do it by turns, rounds, 10-foot poles, or you do it in more storytelling format, fine, that's yours. But as long as it has that deadliness, the sense of adventure, the hex crawl. I mean, as an example, it could be a square crawl, it could be a hex crawl, it could be a sand table crawl. I don't care. But if you include the hex crawl, the combat, the deadliness, and then also, and this is just again for me, you have those tropes. Now, how you express them can be different. Again, Palladium has dwarves that use magic and has troglodyte player characters. Earth Dawn has lizardmen player characters and rock people player characters, but it still has tropes that are involved in there, and humans being the diversity trope. As long as it has that same feel, then for me, it's at least old school adjacent, if we want to get really pedantic about it. I will argue tooth and nail that Forbidden Lands is old school, whether it came out 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago or not. At the same time,
because it's a retro clone, or it's drawing upon that same feeling. And I agree with you there. Okay. I'm just wondering at some point if the trajectory of the tabletop role-playing hobby, maybe there'll be no combat 40 years from now at all. Maybe there'll be no dice rolling at all, in any of them. And then you're going to look back and they're going to say, hey, wait a second. 5e is really challenging. I mean,
there's so much randomness in it. Oh, yeah. You know what? Then Amber comes back and becomes a new school game.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it's like, if the trajectory keeps on going in the direction that it's going in, I mean, maybe someday there'll be no physical books at all, and that will be old school. Hey, Eric. Eric's going to pop in. Hello, Eric.
Hello. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good. So, yeah, if Wizards of the Coast goes the way that I think most people kind of think they are, and they're going to go completely digital and then completely virtual tabletop and completely video game, and stop producing,
I'm going to invest in my own print house, and I'm going to make all types of money printing off these games that companies don't want to. Since Lulu sucks, by the way, again, for anybody who doesn't know, and you print your books on Lulu, you're not supposed to do that. And I know a person, he's sitting right here, who got his account terminated for that. So don't tell me, I do it all the time. Because when you get caught, I just told you, you're not supposed to print out your books on Lulu. Assholes. I mean, sorry, shouldn't be cursing on your stream, but
they should. No, I don't care about that. What they should say, I don't know if they do or not. They should say that this is not to recreate other copyrighted materials.
I had a letter from SJ Games before the last two things of nonsense that he did that said, you are allowed to have a copy of this book printed. It's literally there.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not a print house. Well, then what are you?
Yeah.
I have I saved those emails because just in case anything happened or people don't believe me, I can send all those emails to you where I went back and forth with them like, I just wanted to print this out. I have the rights to print it out, and I wasn't doing it for sale. I was doing it for me because Lulu has that thing where you can do it for yourself or for sale. And they said, no, we are not a print house, and terminated my account.
I'm not sure what to think of them not doing print books because all of the older generation like us are going to have nothing to do with it. But the younger people might jump on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the business model that they're looking to, follow, especially since, shipping costs are ridiculous. And, I also know that the part of the reason why they want to do it is so that they can retcon materials that, knew that as soon as they had to withdraw the Haddazee description from Spelljammer. And I guarantee you, they're sitting there and say, you see, if we only had PDF it's not even PDF. If we only had digital that we control, we would have never had this issue. We'd be able to just switch it up and everybody has the new modified copy of it. And they wouldn't have to worry about, well, what actually went out there, into the public, that they now have the original copies of this. So they'll treat it as it's always egg on their face because it's out there now. And they really, although they tried to point their finger at second edition, that was all they're doing. And so it was but they don't want to be responsible for their own, for their own content. If suddenly it turns against them, and That's what digital gives them the ability. That's why they won't do PDF, is because once you can print a PDF, then they have no way of taking.
Oh,
that
is this
back.
only going in a format of something like what was that application that they have, D&D Beyond or whatever?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just going to be PDF nonsense. Oh, wow.
No,
So that's one
PDF.
step further.
Yeah, it's a step further.
I'm glad I don't have anything to do with WotC.
They don't want you to have a physical copy, even if you're printing it out, of their material, because if suddenly the tide turns against something that they produced, they want to be able to memory hold it, right? They want to be able to remove it, and then they can, a few years down the road, deny that it ever happened. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. Not Chris. Eric. Sorry.
And people like us, the idea of paying money for a product that we don't have any type of control of, and that they can take from us like that, it's insane.
Yeah.
But everything I work in IT, and everything's a service. And out in the public now, everything's a service. Like, no, I have a product. So I pay you to do a service. I pay you to own a product.
Yeah. But your point about them wanting to change things based on the social whims is a very good point, because things change so fast nowadays. And when you're on that side of the political spectrum, it matters. We're us, we don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, because that whole thing brought it up was, it didn't even matter that the story was, you're not assisting slavery, you're actually playing characters that, their type was formerly enslaved or meant to be slaves, and you fought back against the system. It's like,
Are you talking about the Hadozi?
Yeah. That was a whole thing that spurred that fear in Wizards of the Coast at that point. Was they were like, we cannot pull back on printed copies. All right, those will always be out there. I mean,
well, how are they still handling games like because for years you couldn't get anything. That's why like Oshrik exists, right?
Right.
So, but now they sell copies of Oriental Adventures.
Right. Eventually they're going to stop. Eventually they'll stop. All right. But they put it out there with that disclaimer on it too. But eventually they'll stop doing it. They're going to stop Drive-Thru RPG. You're not going to find Oriental Adventures on D&D Beyond. It will never be there. All right. They're going to shut down DM's Guild, and they're going to shut down the access of 5e from them, at least, on Drive-Thru RPG.
All right, folks, it's time to go to Palladium Books, because Kevin doesn't get involved in this nonsense.
No, he does not.
Or Tunnels, or Troll Lord Games.
Yeah, Troll Lord Castles and Crusades. Yeah.
If you want something as closely related to D&D as you can get without any of the WotC baggage, that's the place to go.
Now, here's something wild. I live in the Metro Detroit area. I've known Kevin personally for 17 years. We've never talked about anything except gaming. I have no idea what any of his political views are.
I can tell you. we had some. Well, no, I wouldn't. I would never do that. But we've had some conversations behind the scenes. We've had him on our show a couple of times. It's funny. Heathen Dog, my co-host, he's right there, like next. He can spit on Detroit, and he still hasn't gone to the Palladium warehouse. And Kevin's invited him like 10 times, and he's like,
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Absolutely. Him and Sean both are absolutely fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, I met Sean for the first time last month. So really good guy.
We got some videos of Heathen Dog telling Sean his game is garbage. And it's great. It made for a perfect short. Sean's like, well, opinions are like assholes. And I'm like, see, these are people who know how to be adults. And I love it. Love it.
Well, here's the thing. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean it's a bad game.
Right.
There's people out there who have YouTube channels I listen to. I respect them. But the way my friends and I play our role-playing games is vastly different than they do. And, okay, who cares? We're all having fun. We're good.
You know, it's funny when I spouted off the nonsense that I spout on my channel, and I do it to my friends or I do it at a gaming store, people just shake their heads and be like, "Whatever, you know, okay, dude, you know, we get it. You got some opinions about yourself. You know, we have opinions too." And then it'd be fun, right? Man, I say it on YouTube, and everybody takes it like as an I'm the authority of Dungeons and Dragons, and that because I said it must be cured. It must be stopped right now at all costs. It's like, dude, I'm just one idiot with an opinion. Jeez.
All gamers of our age know of the off-color jokes that occur in the privacy of their own home at their table.
Yep.
And they're jokes, which is why they're okay and they're funny. And there are things you can't repeat here.
But if you joke about it, then you have a deeper I forget the terms that they use, but a deeper issue where it's part of you. It's like, no, it's because it was funny and I knew it'd make people feel weird.
Yeah, exactly. We're just having fun, you know.
The best, and I won't say the full thing here, but the best was when I was in Germany and this German lady, I went to go work inside, this is as a character, I went to go work inside the house and the library and so forth, and the thief went to go work outside in the stables, and she'll say, "Oh, so you're the house and you're the plant." You see where that's going. Using the full word that followed that, and we died at the table. Like, this just came from a German lady.
The funniest thing that we had happen at our table, and this is totally safe for YouTube, we were playing Rollmaster, and this was a while ago, so I forget the specifics, and one of the characters is playing one of the magic using classes, and he thought he had enough ranks in his spellcasting to get like Fireball, Ice Ball, and Lightning Ball. And it's after the session, and he's going through calculating his character, and he realized he was one rank short from being able to get those spells. So he looked up from the table, totally innocent, totally unaware of what he was going to say, and went, "Hey guys, I just realized I don't have any balls yet." And that, I mean,
we know.
Yeah. I mean, he never lived that one down.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are things that we'll just say, Pat, luckily I move around the world a lot, so when I say something too ridiculous, that will finally fade away. But one of them that stood with me forever was I was being a little emotional. I screamed like, "Ah, you doorknob fucker!" And I don't know where it came from, but they're like, "Hey, slow." That's my last name. They're like, "Is that doorknob fucker? Is that Zapper?" I was like, oh. Sitting at the table, people be like, "You know what? I think we're gonna make a class for you, the doorknob fucker."
Yeah. Well, we're lucky. Our game group, we've all been friends for 20 years. Some of us more than that, so we're totally open about whatever we want to do.
That's the way it should be. I mean, tables should be a safe space. It doesn't need to be a safe space because everybody just knows how to act. They're your friends.
Exactly. We're just having fun, and everyone knows we're just having fun. And we're also adults. If somebody crosses a line, someone's going to say, "Dude, that's not cool," and they'll go, "I'm sorry," and it's the end of it.
Yep, and then you move on.
And you want to know what? That's never even happened.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Dark Sun. I have much more respect for it now than I used to, but it's not my thing. But I do agree, because of all the tropes in Dark Sun, grab it while you can.
Yeah. I like Dark Sun. I just find it extremely hard to run because you have these empty wastes with nothing in it, and then the city states. So it kind of limits what's available for you to use as a tool.
Well, in second edition, psionics were so broken anyway that I despise psionics.
Oh, yes. I feel your pain in that one. I've run games with them in it before and had to say, "No, we can't do this anymore."
Welcome.
I'm on my cell phone to read all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to read everything. I'm actually looking back and forth between the two things, and I just looked to find Dark Sun on eBay, and yeah, it's running like $100 to get a incomplete box set, which I was like, okay, you know. So, but yeah, you could probably get the loose books and everything for, you know, somewhat reasonable, but I don't need any more of that stuff, and I never played it back in the day, so.
I'm lucky. I purchased them all when they first came out.
Yeah.
So I got them at MSRP back in the 90s.
Yeah, Yeah, I still run Greyhawk. I'll never change from running Greyhawk. If I'm running, if I'm running D&D, I'm running Greyhawk. That's just not. I was never a Forgotten Realms fan to begin with. Never bothered with it because that was like during my gap years when I wasn't playing any tabletop role playing games. I was playing.
Forgotten Realms got really popular, I believe, for the same reason. 2E was the 5e of its day, and for the same reason that 5e is popular is because it allowed for everything. Dragon characters, Sonic characters, demon character, whatever. You could find a way to make it happen. This is why I like Dragonlance so much. Maybe not directly following all the lore of every last little bit of it, but I love Dragonlance because the fact it had limitations all over the place.
Yeah, someday, because I have my original maps too, and I would laminate them like that, and put them up in a frame and put them behind me, or in front of me. I want to really change my whole situation here with get a whole other bookshelf and just move into a totally different space for all of my gaming stuff. But yeah, that's something that I would love to get. Or I see like those rugs and tapestries that they have of the Greyhawk map. Those are incredible. Yes. Yeah, those are incredible.
Greyhawk Granier, his channel, he has tapestry hangs over it.
Yeah, that's a great channel to check out, and he knows too much about it, though. It makes me nervous. It's like I never want to ask him questions, because I just feel like, I feel like I would be like a child asking, a professor about, hey, what if I do this, in Greyhawk, what do you think of that? And probably like, no, you can't do that, or something along those lines or whatever. I just feel that he knows it 100 times better than me.
My take on it is I'm going to do whatever I want when I'm running the world. I've ran every published setting from TSR except for Planescape, and I'll keep the basics of the lore, but if I'm going to mutilate it, I'm going to mutilate it, and I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to try to keep the flavor, and it's going to serve to drive the plot along and keep the characters invested in things. But I did that wildly in the latest Forgotten Realms campaign I did, where I butchered quite a few things up in the Savage North just to make it fun.
Right.
I do something very similar when I run. I also had my own homebrew setting that I ran on and off, but I love using the Dragonlance. As I typed in a chat to somebody, the first edition hardcover, even though I played a second edition game, the first edition hardcover Dragonlance Adventure books is just, for me, it's my favorite setting book ever written. And but again, I do some tweaks to it, and I let everybody know up front, there is no War of the Lance. There is no, you're not going to meet those characters, and we're not going to worry about where every Minotaur can walk. Because if I decide that I want a Minotaur right here, it's going to be here. Because, some of those people they learn that lore so well. It's like, no, nothing ever crossed the actual, the 60-second parallel because I don't care. It crossed today.
The 23rd of this month, we're starting a new campaign that I'm running, and it's going to be my first time running Dragonlance. And I'm actually going to be running the War of the Lance, the DL modules from back in the
Have you read through them yet?
Yes.
Okay, because like the first few are pretty okay, and then they become incredibly railroady. Like even the first ones I would consider kind of railroady, but they become incredibly railroady.
Yeah, they are railroady, but one of the guys in my game group, he helped me build my new crafting workbench that I got here. So part of his payment is we're going to be playing through that because he wants to through it. And the rest of the people at my gaming group are okay with it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And again, it's, we all understand it's railroady. We're all okay with it. So we're good.
Yeah, we played that as well. I was a player, and we ran that when it first came out. And yeah, we just ran. We used those characters, and we went through them. We understood that was like, all right, you're playing Tanis. Tanis is not going to die. It's like we just wanted to experience the story, as it ran along its little railroad there. And yeah, we could have had setbacks here and there along the way, but we kind of knew that it was meant to be run through, that way. And we didn't have a problem with it. We understood it, what it was meant to do. Now, you could, of course, do whatever you want at your table and break from that. I mean, there's no reason why Tanis has to survive, or
Where's Cat has a chat up there that because I know the characters are put in those books. Yeah, have them do their own thing.
Yeah, you can have them ditch the canon characters and use them as reference and take your own direction. That's a blast. Yeah.
That's what they're doing. I gave them the option of picking any of the canon characters except for Tasselhoff, because there are no Kender. Making their own characters, and they could mix and match. I didn't care. And if somebody were to pick, like if someone was going to pick Carmen, Raceland was going to be part of the game because they're brothers. They have a relationship.
Right.
Everyone wanted to make their own characters, so I'll use the canon characters. I'll have them pop in now and then, do cameos and things like that, just to keep the flavor there.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm here. I don't talk like a lot on my streams because it's just what I do. But I'm a huge fan of people that put their own spin on something, as long as it maintains what I call the spirit. I'm definitely a spirit of the law over the letter of the law. And if you can continue to keep that spirit of the setting with their own characters and still include some of the heroes of the Lance, I don't even think I could succeed on that part. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what we do, is we want to preserve the feel of the world. When
100% agree.
Yeah, when we were playing the Savage North game, one of the characters was an Uthgard barbarian, and when I was reading through all the lore, Uthgard was a god. Well, his dad was Tempest, the god of war, and they alluded that his mother was immortal, was just a regular mortal, but they didn't set it in stone. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to make his mother Mystra, the goddess of magic. So the god of war and the goddess of magic had a little tryst, and I had all that play into the game where they had, at the end, they went ahead and were trying to awaken an avatar of Uthgar through the great worm corpse that he had killed when he was alive, and it was just totally epic, and they had a blast. And I finally got to use the big red dragon mini that WotC sold back in like 2005.
Nice. That's cool. Well, hey, there are things that are shenanigans happening around my house right now, so I'm gonna have to drop out. But Dan Bluddworth, thanks for letting me pop in here.
Yep, and
Eric's good to meet you.
Popping in, Eric, thanks for popping in as well. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up as well because, like I said, my daughter should be coming home soon.
Yeah,
and
I take care of tonight as well. I figured to put the link up and have someone come in and.
Oh yeah. No, I really appreciate it, and you're welcome anytime. I try to do these live streams like once a week or so.
Okay.
Now I'm off for like the next month. So before I go on vacation. So Tuesdays, it's Monday, right? So Monday nights, I have nothing usually going. So maybe I'll do this stream, every Monday night at 7. If you want to pop in, you're welcome to do so.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
All right.
I'm usually
especially if you want to share some stories about your gaming and talk about your game. Love to hear stories about what people actually did this past week in their game, kind of thing. So that's what I'm most interested in hearing.
Monday nights, because I'm usually crafting or painting minis. So I'm usually down in my D&D cave.
Okay, cool. Well, it was a pleasure. Thanks for popping in, Eric, and I look forward to seeing you again.
All right, you have a good one now.
All right, take care. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining, and you all have a great 4th of July tomorrow. And if you're in the United States and celebrating, and if not, enjoy the rest of your week and take care.